Shalom Chavarim. Let's commit our time of study to the Lord by the blowing of the shofar, the ram's horn. Amen. Today we want to talk about one of the three great poetic epics of ancient Ugarit, the Aqhat legend. In this legend, there was a king, Dan-Ilu, who I believe is probably alluded to in Ezekiel 28, verse 3, when Ezekiel taunts the king of Tyre by saying, "Behold, you're wiser than Dan-Ilu." King of Tyre would have lived up in Syria, in the vicinity where Ugarit was in antiquity. But this Dan-Ilu was a king, and he was a righteous king, but he was childless. So he appeals to El and Baal for a son. Now, it's helpful to know a bit about the pantheon of Ugarit. At the head of the pantheon was the god El. With his consort, Asherah, he has children. Three of them you're very familiar with. One is Baal, which means Lord in Ugaritic. He's the weather god. You also have Anat, which is a goddess. Then you have Mot, the god of death. Maweth is the word for death in Hebrew. The construct form is Mot. So El and Asherah have these three children and others. So Dan-Ilu is childless, and he appeals to El and Baal for a son, and they give him Aqhat. So Dan-Ilu has a son named Aqhat. And this is the son given to him by El and Baal. Where there is another god named Kothar wa Chasis and that's a very rough H sound. That's called H rocker. Kothar Wachasis. He decides to give a very prized bow to Dan-Ilu. And this father, overjoyed by having a son, he wants to give the bow to Aqhat, which he does. Well, Anat, one of the children of El and Asherah, a female deity, she becomes very covetous of this bow. And she tries to make a deal with Aqhat for this bow. And she makes him various offers, the last of which is immortality. But still, this bow is so treasured by Aqhat because it's valuable, it came from his father. He doesn't want to exchange it. And so Anat becomes enraged, and she hires her henchman, Yatpan. So Yatpan is the henchman of Anat. She hires Yatpan and transforms him into an eagle. So Yatpan becomes an eagle and devours Aqhat. So Aqhat is now dead. He's been devoured by a transformed Yatpan, eaten by Yatpan. I guess that's why we talk about going from the pan into the fire. This pan became an eagle and devoured Aqhat. Well, Dan-Ilu is grief-stricken. And so to whom does he turn? the same deity he turned to when he was childless. He turns to Baal and says, Baal, you're in charge of the weather. You're in charge of the skies. Bring down the eagles so I might find who devoured my son, Aqhat. And so Baal does that. And lo and behold, Danilu discovers the remains of his son Aqhat in an eagle. And he's just grief-stricken. And Danilu mourns for his son for 7 years. Well, how does the story end? The sister of Aqhat, Pugat sets out to avenge the death of her brother Aqhat. So you can see that this pantheon of Ugarit is very capricious, very sinful, very vengeful, very different than our holy God. Leviticus 11:44 says, for I am the Lord and I am holy, so you must be holy, says the Lord. That's the theme of the Pentateuch. The Pentateuch would have been written in 1446. This legend would have been written when the civilization of Ugarit flourished between 1400 BC to 1190 BC. So the story begins very nicely. El and Baal grant the wish of Danilu to have a son, Aqhat, but then it ends with revenge. The sister of Aqhat, Pugat, sets out to avenge her brother's death. This is written in beautiful Ugaritic poetry. It's very flowing. It's very beautiful to read. But the content leaves a lot to be desired. May the Lord bless you and keep you as we appreciate the background to God's holy word. Shalom.